Well, how do there, people in the viewerverse? So yes, you've probably seen the patch notes over on the Hello Gamesy type, No Manny Sky type website, and you're thinking, Captain Steve, I'm not seeing it there. No, well, it's inside of the experimental branch. The next update, you would notice in 4.4, they've removed that whole thing about adding stars to players altogether. It's gone. Anyway, let's bring the patch notes up on screen. So there we go, let's bring that up. Right, so hopefully that's nice and big, and hopefully you guys can see this. So yeah, it's no mention of it there. Now, I could go through all of these patch notes again, but I've already covered these off. But all I'm pointing out is it's not in there, which is pretty darn freaking good. All the good stuff is still in there, like the drop rate of the spawn sacks is gone up, which is fantastamondo. I guess it is. Well, hello there, Assistant No Man's Sky. We've got Dutch66, we've got Bertie in the house, Per Christiansen. Who else we got here? We got Galif Hansen, Paul Cleaves, John Boy Dojo, nice. Wolfie Farquhar is in the house. Nice one. Anyway, so yeah, all the good stuff is still there, people. All the good stuff is still there. So you probably want to see what I'm seeing over on the experimental branch. Okay, so let's hit on up the experimental branch, and here we go. So again, they're saying that they're listening to everybody that's running the betas, and they get listening to all the feedbacks. They've probably seen videos and all sorts. You know what they're like at Hello Games. They do listen. They do listen. So scrolling down, here we go. So this is it, experimental branch, 15th of the 10th, not 13th of the 10th, where we saw this originally. So it looks like they've taken it out of that 13th of the 10th and out of that one that they've just deployed to everybody that should be rolling out soon, 4.04. And now it's going to be put back into the next one, and it's changed rather somewhat. But there's something rather juicy here inside of experimental that we need to talk about as well. So technology inventories now have a chance to contain supercharged slots that offer substantial boosts to the stats of the technologies deployed to those slots. That's freaking awesome. The number of supercharged slots is tied to the class of starship. Freaking love it. Fighters or multi-tools in question. Okay, cool. With 1 slot available for C class and 4 for S class. So you can read into that maybe, you know, a B class might have 3 and an A class might have 3 or something. You know, it might scale to that sort of degree. But knowing that you've got 4 turbocharged, boosted freaking S class slots is pretty darn sweet. So I wonder if they're going to be another color or something, or they'll have a little icon on them. I don't know. I can't wait to see how they're implementing this. But that is such an awesome change, especially for all the min-maxers that felt that they had been robbed of their 6 modules. Freaking awesome stuff. Okay, right, now onto that little icon. So although in the last patch notes it said that the player would be given a note next to their name, and there was a sort of mock-up, I think, a mock-up, I don't know what it was. It might have been that way in experimental at one stage, but yes, it went from being a note, like saying, you know, this player has changed it every time he encountered a sentinel, to now just, well, it just had like a little red star previously in the previous branch update. And Beeble sent me some images. I'll show you those images in a moment over on Twitterverse, and I'll show you how people are replying, sort of responding to this on Twitterverse, because it's seeming mostly positive. Okay, so this is it. So an icon reflecting the player's current mode is now visible alongside the icon representing their current platform. So when you scan a person, you might see a little skull for permadeath, and then you might see the platform like Xbox or Steam or PlayStation, like you always did. But that new little icon for their game mode is there, so at least you know what game mode you're joining, and that player might have different difficulties and things like that compared to you, because yeah, normal saves can join creative now and vice versa. I don't know whether people can still join people in permadeath going from these patch notes. It's not very clear. I'm going to have to be doing some testing. But here's the bit about that little red star that now appears. So previously in the actual patch notes, it was to do with if players had changed their difficulty backwards. If they had made the game more easier for themselves, it put a little red star on them. So it was almost like a negative connotation. Right, well, you've made it easier for yourself. Boom! Have a red star, little man. Yeah. Now, I was worried that that would cause a divide within inside of the community. So players with red stars, they might actually look for other players with red stars to ask, Can I join your game? Because they'd see them as more casual players, somebody that's like-minded. People that don't have the red star, more purist gamers, they might say, well, I'm only going to invite people that play the way I want to play. I don't really want somebody that's going to cut corners. So it creates that sort of divide inside the community. I saw nothing positive with that current branch update in putting a red star on somebody that made it easier for themselves. Nothing at all. But this one, players who elect to lock their difficulty setting will have this reflected in their game mode icon. So I think that little red star is now going to appear next to those. It'd make more sense if they put a little padlock in rather than like the little red star. But, you know, either way, if it has locked their game mode, maybe it means something. You know, maybe you can only join that player if you're in the same game mode. So if they've got like a permadeath icon and their game mode icon, but there's a little red star there, you have to join that person maybe with a permadeath save. So maybe it's a visual representation whether you can join that person's game or not without the aggro of actually inviting them. You can look and say, oh no, they've locked to that game mode. I don't know. We're going to have to do some more testing, but this is a much more welcome change to the way that thing operates, because I can only think of one other time in history where people were given little stars on them to denote them from not being as pure as other people. So yeah, I was a little bit worried that if that did go live into the universe, I suppose this is why we've got experimental branch, isn't it? So they can get the feedback and they can listen to the players and the community and make adjustments. So hooray, experimental branch, and hooray for everybody that gave freaking feedback. It's been listened to yet again. Hello Games is definitely listened to their community. I don't know whether they did this as a bloody test, you know, but, you know, brilliant Hello Games. It's nice that there are people out there that are making waves whenever something doesn't quite fit, because in the past there's been a lot of people saying, no, this update's perfect, this is the most perfectest thing since sliced bread, don't change a thing about it. I could see if this went live and certain people go, I don't want a little star there. It could have done some real damage to reputation of Hello Games. So you know what, I'm very, very happy that they've backpedaled on this one, listened to the community and made this change, because it makes freaking sense. And yeah, so that's kind of my feelings on this. But let's jump on over to the Twitterverse and let's have a look what's going on over there. So Beeble was the first person that I saw to tweet this change out on Experimental 15.10 with all these changes to the icon, which is freaking great. Yeah. And there we go. He actually highlighted, and it seems the way that people's game modes are represented is changed, which is brilliant. So I was like, where? And I read, I was like, right, let's get live. I'm in my freaking onesie. I'll just chuck my hat on. And away I go. Here I am. So yeah, I only just saw this morning. So yeah, just 1 hour ago, made myself a freaking cuppa, jumped online to let you guys know, because I'm away all this weekend. I'm going over to a friend's to play Warhammer, like the big geek that I am. Right, so if I scroll on down here, they've released a new card game, Warhammer. It's freaking great. So yeah, we're gonna have a look at that. When I say new, it's been out for a while, but here we go. There's a little star. Oh, okay, so all the images that I've seen before, the little star was red. They've actually made the decision to make it yellow. Okay, there's no historical references there. Yeah, okay. It doesn't look great next to a skull either. Alright, fine. But that's what they've done. Anyway, so latest experimental branch now shows game mode, platform, and if the player is locked to their game settings. Brilliant! Okay, so that's far better. I shouldn't laugh, but it's a nervous laugh. Okay, alright, fine. That's what they've done. That's what they've gone with. Okay, cool. Supercharged slots is an unusual addition. It seems like something that would be a larger update rather than a hotfix. It looks like it's another 25% boost to your tech. I've got one super slot in my exosuit and one in my ship. Well, that's nice. A 25% boost. That's quite cool. So if you've got 3 of those inside of an S-Class, 3 of your slots are turbocharged, does that mean that all 3 S-Classes, if you move them into there, it's going to turbocharge them? So rather than giving us 3 extra slots, it's just going to turbocharge 3 of the slots that are already there. If it's at random, then you might have to adjust your inventory to get the bonuses. It depends how they implement this. I can't envisage it in my head, sadly, but until I actually see it, unless I was on experimental, I don't know how big a plus this is, whether it does meet the needs of those min-maxers to bring their ships back to where they were, or their multi-tools. Myself, if I was a min-maxer worried about squeezing numbers, I would quite welcome this in the way that maybe I might have to adjust my play style and how I actually do all my sort of inventory management to get the best out of those numbers. It would be a little bit of a kick in the shin, but it's not a kick in the balls, you know? So, yeah, I kind of like this. I like where it's going. So there we go. That's my thoughts on that. So there's a lot of other sort of posts going on over here on Twitter, and I've put out a lot on my feed that I thought have been quite interesting. So this is my feed, this is my page, so I always retweet things that I really like. Sometimes I might not get the full chance to view them at the time, and I go back and look at them later. But yeah, there's the current stream that you're watching now right there. Then there's this news from Beeble. Scrolling down a little bit further, you can see here that the PT has also picked up on this. A nice addition, and it freaking is a nice addition, adding in those turbocharged slots or whatever. It gives a substantial boost. From what we've seen there, 25% is being rumoured. I don't want to say that's gospel, but yeah, that's pretty darn sweet. Okay, so that's the patch notes that I showed right at the start, 4.04, that's being rolled out to every platform soon. And PT there, he also, I think he says inside this thread that it might not hit Nintendo Switch just yet. I say all platforms, but probably not Switch. The Switch is a ridiculous certification process timeline. So yeah, pretty darn freaking nice. There's some niceties inside of there. Getting the spawning sacks is one that's going to be enhanced, but there's also another where it gives you a couple of free technology slots for previous players that just upgraded to Waypoint. So you might get a few bonus slots there, people. So yeah, then there's that from yesterday. So this was 13.10 that went out the other day, and we've already had them recant and change that up by listening to the community over on Experimental Branch and probably the wider audience as well, because their eyes are everywhere when it comes to Hello Games. So I am thoroughly glad that they've managed to turn this around and change their minds on this. So yeah, all good. Yeah, so pretty cool. So this is what it was like previously. So it showed the icon. Let's see if I can make this a bit bigger. So it showed the icon of game mode. Then it showed nothing there if you hadn't changed your game settings, and then your game mode. And if you had changed your settings, it put a little red star previously. But that little red star is quite hard to see, isn't it? So maybe that's why they've changed it to let's call it a golden star rather than yellow, shall we, people? yeah, so they've changed it up a little bit. It's easier to see now, and it's to do with whether you've locked your game mode, not to do with anything else. So it's just if you've locked your game mode, and it is more visible. Yeah, but it's not there. It's up here, so it's all good. Anyway, peeps, so I think I'm going to be ended off now, people. And let's see what you guys are saying inside the live chat quickly, see if there's anything there. The survival logo is yellow. Oh, okay. Needs to be a padlock icon. I would say yes to that, Robert Harris. Yes, I'm in total agreement. A padlock icon would be a lot better. Yeah, cool. And Jordan, I wonder if this is going to make ship hunting more interesting with supercharged slots. That's a point, yeah, because you might see the supercharged slot when you're trying to look at the ship that you want to get. I don't know whether the supercharged slots are going to appear after you own the ship or when you're doing your ship hunting. But yeah, you're quite right. Could add an extra dimension to ship hunting. You might want one with a certain layout where the super slot is where you prefer them to be. Maybe all bunched together in one area so you can really supercharge one weapon rather than have them scattered about. It makes you wonder as when you're actually... Let me have a sip of this tea. Yeah, it does make you wonder that, yeah, when you actually upgrade in the slottage inside of the ship outfitting station, whether you can choose where your super slot goes, or whether it's just some sort of procedural generation that sits in an algorithm that puts in where it wants. I don't know. I'm not on the experimental branch, and without some video footage or screenshots, all I can do is tell you the premise of what's inside those notes. So yeah, pretty darn freaking interesting. But if you are an experimental branch and you want to send me some images of this turbocharged slot, the best way to do that is hit me up on Twitter and send me a message. Even if I'm not following you, you can still send me the message. I will see the message come up and it would say, do you want to accept this message? I'd hit accept. I'd accept it, see your screenshots, and lovely jubbly, I'll follow you back as a bit of a bonus, you know? So thank you very much if you do want to send me that over. That'd be awesome. Have you locked any of your saves yet, Cap? No, I haven't, not yet. No, I'm only playing in relax mode. But because I'm playing in relax mode and I'm doing my new playthrough with a little exo droid and I'm doing all the voice acting, new episode out tomorrow, people in the viewerverse. Episode 4. If you haven't seen episodes 1, 2 and 3, get to watching them so you can watch episode 4 and it makes sense. But anyway, yeah, so that episode 4 that I'm doing... Say if I run into something super boring, like digging up half a planet to get my base building parts, then I'm flicking it into creative, but I'm making out that Exo can hack the system because he's part of the simulation, and I'm using it as part of the actual story. And I'm using it whenever I feel the players out there, well, the viewers out there are going to get bored watching me do a task, or wherever I'm actually physically getting bored doing a task. And I'm making a note, I'm keeping a note of all the times I do that, and I'm hoping to do an ideas video at some stage to put out there in the verse to improve all these areas where there's niggles or boredom or things that don't make tangible sense. It's like going to the Atlas station for the first time. I didn't know any of the Atlas words. However, there is a lot of stuff during the Artemis quest line where you go into knowledge stones and things like that and ancient plaques to tune in that translator tech that Artemis gives you. Well, why not give you, say, 5 Atlas words for each of those steps while you're doing the Artemis quest line? So when you do jump over to the Atlas path and start looking up the Atlas, at least you know the first maybe paragraph of text that the Atlas says. And if they build it in that way, then hopefully it makes a little bit more sense the first time you play through. So yeah, there's also, it's like learning the language of all the 3 races, you know. When we first started out, a knowledge stone 1 word seemed okay because there was only like 100 odd so words or 150 odd words per race. That's like increased by like 4-fold now. It's like 400 words per race or something mental. So why not increase the amount of words you learn per knowledge stone and they actually teach you free? Or if you go and talk to an NPC of that race, you know now we've got all the building parts of the different sort of race structures. So, you know, Viking has got, is it metal? No, that's Korvax. The concrete is like, well, you know what I mean anyway. So they've got their own build styles, haven't they, in the new game mode, what we've got introduced with Frontiers. So maybe when you talk to like a Korvax, you unlock a metal part or whatever. If you talk to a Get, you're going to get one of the concrete parts or whatever it is. So, you know, you can unlock base parts as you're talking to NPCs, especially if they've got builder in their title, then maybe they give you 2 parts, you know? There's ways and means that Hello Games could speed a lot of this up. Still make it fun, but make it when you're doing a mundane task, it actually unlocks multiple things. And that's where I'm going to do an ideas video on all of this. Anyway, I'll make myself a little bit bigger on screen just as I'm getting towards wrapping up on this. So let's see what else is inside of the live chat. So we've got Atlas Galacticus. I missed the whole stream, for crying out loud. What is wrong with my timing? Well, to be fair, Atlas Galacticus, I woke up, I saw a lot going on Twitter, I jumped straight over here, booted this up. So yeah, I didn't give much prior warning. I'd done a 5-minute countdown, that was it. And then boom, I'm online. So it's probably my fault just as much as yours. But the beauty of this is as soon as I've finished off, you can just rewind it and watch it from the start, can't you? Good morning for all. Well, good morning there. WRIN10. Cool. Yeah, it's definitely morning. Still in my PJs. I've got to get dressed. I've got places to go, people to see. Heck yes. Cool. Rob Starhopper. Just found an entrance to the rare system called the Nest. Anyone else been there? There is a lot of planets that are nested or infested planets. I haven't been to a system called the Nest, unless somebody's renamed it as that. If it's the first time you've discovered it, that's a little bit odd. But are all the planets there nested? Is it a totally infested system? Because if it has, you've found something fairly unique there. Yeah, hit us up on Twitter if you have. But if you land on those planets and find that they're not all nested or infested, or there's nothing crazy about it, then, yeah, don't. Yeah, it's just probably coincidence. Cool. DJ B, the Wise. I'd love to see 6 for the Immobile Settlements NPC. I'd love to see a 6 for the Immobile Settlement NPCs. Well, at the moment, settlements, I go there. I don't get to see my NPCs unless I go inside the saloon, inside the bar. That's the only place I see NPCs. Oh, and inside the overseer's office. I don't see them anywhere else, just walking about willy-nilly. Yeah, they're not there anymore. They're all gone. And if I go to my marketplace vendor and I talk to him not from the front of the desk, but from the back, if I go around the back of him to make him spin round and face me, I get locked in the game. And I can't get back out. I have to turn my whole game off, and I'm on PlayStation 5. Give it a try, but make sure you save first. Yeah, so there we go, we got that. Hopefully they fix all these little mini squiffy bits. But at the moment, I guess Settlements has kind of fallen off the shelf slightly, you know, what with it not being in Nintendo Switch, so maybe they're improving everything that is in Switch, and then maybe they might revisit Settlements one day, who knows. We've got KJPC Gaming in the house, people. She's an awesome content creator. She does lots of survival games, not just No Man's Sky, so if you are looking for another survival game that has elements like No Man's Sky, hit up KJ. I mean, she plays on PC, I believe, so there's quite a lot of nice titles there that appear on her channel, so give her a chance. She's pretty darn freaking cool. We've got Scottish Rod in the house as well, another awesome content creator. Does a lot of base building, and his tutorials are so easy to follow. Freaking awesome chap as well. And Adam Mack, Dr. Kef, well, hello. Welcome. Anyways, I'm going to be ending off now, peeps. And like I say, I've got places to go. I need to go cook some freaking bacon and some sausages to fill up my tummy for my long travels ahead of me. Until next time, people, this is really good news. Thank you, Hello Games, for listening. Thank you to all those on the experimental branch and those out inside the universe and the viewerverse that made this happen by putting feedback out there for Hello Games to digest, because they are always listening. Take care. Bye-bye.